This is my backyard sauna. I did a ton of research over the last year for this project, and in this video, I'm going to share my entire build process, highlighting everything you need to know about building your own. So, let's crank up the heat. Last year, I learned of some pretty incredible research about the health benefits of heat therapy. One study in particular showed that men who use a sauna 3 to 4 days a week for just 20 minutes saw a 40% reduction in all-cause mortality. 40%. And it doesn't stop there. Saunas are linked to improved cardiovascular health, reduced inflammation, and even a lower risk of Alzheimer's and dementia. As someone who's definitely no longer a spring chicken, these benefits really caught my attention. I originally framed all this to use a standard pre-hung window and door. This tiny window was going to be over $400, and the door well over $1,000. But I called a local glass company to inquire about custom glass, and they had a giant 48 by 49 inch piece that someone had ordered by mistake, and I got it for the same price as the small one with delivery. So besides having to rip out that window and reframe it, the main structure is pretty straightforward, and you can just follow your local codes. I chose this particular design with the overhang so that I can use the porch for firewood storage and to provide outlets for lighting around the fire pit area. I covered the roof in this synthetic felt, then installed pre-cut metal R panels that I ordered from a local supplier. Getting the metal pre-cut from a supplier like that saves a lot of time and energy, and is usually much cheaper than the big box stores. For the outside, I chose hardy board concrete siding to create a board and batten look. I raised the floor here with some 2x4s to make room for a junction box for the electrical, and also to add insulation and create an air gap. The glass company advised that since this was frameless, I should use something that won't swell as much with the temperature changes for the window frame. He suggested composite or pressure-treated lumber, along with some kind of weather stripping or felt underneath. For the porch area, I installed aluminum LED channel along with some outdoor LED strips, then used 2 colors of Trex decking to cover it all up. The idea here was that it will cast an indirect light down as needed for ambiance. I'm also planning to put some 45-degree channel around the inner diameter of the soffit for the same purpose. This build took forever, and a lot of this stuff wasn't really sauna specific. So I'm kind of cruising through this first part, but I'll put links to all the pertinent stuff I'm using down in the description. And you can let me know in the comments if you have any specific questions. In the meantime, let's go build a sauna door. Obviously, saunas are quite warm, so using a cheap pre-hung steel or fiberglass door would have created a burn hazard on both the door and any doorknobs that would fit it anytime it's in use. And I looked all over, and any pre-hung solid wood exterior door were at least $1,000, and many of them were much more. I was able to get this whole stack of alder for around $400, and the build itself took about a day and a half, not counting multiple coats of finish. As you just saw, I started by dimensioning several boards to make up the lower central door panel. And for the front side of that door panel, I used the palm router and a 45-degree chamfer bit to add a V-groove for texture on the inner edges. Then glued and clamped it. Once it was out of the clamps, I squared the top and bottom with the circular saw and lightly clamped it to mark where all the dominoes will go to hold it together. I decided to use the domino because I really wanted this door to be the full 2 inches thick, and I don't own a shaper cutter that thick for the traditional rail-in style door joinery. But after consulting the interwebs and my good friend ChatGPT, both confirmed the domino should work just fine for this. But just in case, I used like a bajillion of the biggest ones I could. My thought process here was that the vertical ones on the lower stiles will hold the central panel together, and then the horizontal ones in the rails will hold all the weight. This is actually the first full-size door I've ever made, and I'm pretty proud of how cool it turned out. But I'll keep you updated with how it holds up over time. Speaking of which, if you'd like to get more frequent updates and give input on upcoming projects and videos, you should check out my Patreon. We're building a cool little community over there, and if you like this kind of content, it's a great way to help me keep making it. I used black CA glue and activator to fill in any knots and cracks and gave everything another good sanding down to 220 grit. Then I ripped down some offcuts to create the outer window trim before using Minwax pre-stain on the whole door. While I waited on that to dry, I used another offcut to sketch out some big, chunky door handles. I rough shaped them on the bandsaw, then smoothed them down on the oscillating sander and gave all the outer edges a 1/2 inch round over with the router table. By the time I finished all that, the door was ready for stain. I used Minwax's red chestnut stain for both the door and the tongue and groove you saw me putting around the soffit earlier. It's also what I used on the bench seat in my patio video from a few months back. Those little details should help, like, tie the room together, man. For the door glass, I just had a custom piece cut at Lowe's. It's not tempered or double walled like the big window is, but as of the recording of this voiceover, I've been using the sauna for 2 days in the snow and it hasn't exploded yet. So, win. I was a little worried about these screws splitting the wood, so I dipped each one in paste wax first to help prevent it, and it worked like a champ. I came up with this idea to stand the door up while I applied the Helmsman spar urethane because I thought it would let me do both sides at the same time, but all it really did was increase the runs and streaks. It probably would have worked if I'd sprayed the finish instead of brushing it, so lesson learned there. But runs aside, this stuff looked great after the second coat and even better after the third and fourth. Between coats, I got started on the soffit trim. I picked up this door hinge template for about $15, and it made this process way easier than I thought it was going to be. We'll revisit this door installation in just a bit because I just did something really dumb here. But since it's temporarily in place, let's talk about some of the really specific sauna stuff, starting with the insulation. This is rock wool insulation. It's a heavier and more rigid material than fiberglass. And this means it'll hold up better over time and be less prone to sagging and creating gaps. But more importantly, it's naturally water repellent, which will help prevent mold and mildew, and has almost double the heat resistance. I paired that with an aluminum vapor barrier. Unlike plastic vapor barriers, the aluminum will reflect the heat back into the room, which helps maintain those high sauna temperatures. I secured the vapor barrier with stainless steel staples. Even galvanized staples will eventually rust, but these should be good forever. And by sealing all the edges and any terminations through the barrier with aluminum duct tape, you can help to minimize the moisture that's getting into the walls and prevent mold and mildew. Next up, I used these stainless steel finish nails to install 1x2 spruce pine fir, or SPF, furring strips as a standoff for the cedar I'm about to install. This creates a small air gap between the cedar and the vapor barrier, which will help the cedar to breathe and prevent moisture buildup over time. I really lucked out on this cedar. About 20 years ago, a good friend of mine cut down a whole bunch of eastern red cedar and had it milled up, and I helped him stack it in his barn. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and he still had a huge stack of that left that he graciously offered to donate to this project. I got 2 separate loads and spent several full days processing this stuff. Unfortunately, about a third of it wasn't usable for wallboards because of the knot holes and insect damage. But I was able to plane enough down to 3/4 inch for 3 full walls and enough down to 1 inch that I hoped would work for the structural bench frames. I straightened these boards on one side with the Craig AccuCut XL, then ripped them to varying widths on the table saw before moving over to the shaper to cut the tongue and groove with V-channel. These cutters are from Amana Tool, and they're awesome. There's one cutter for each side, and they sliced through every board like butter. Installation was super simple, and I used the same stainless steel finish nails from before. I found some inexpensive western red cedar already cut into shiplap down at my local lumber yard. It had been sitting around for a while, so I cleaned it up a bit by sanding it down to 120, then cut it to length and nailed it to the final wall and ceiling. Even though I hadn't planned on this, I really liked the color difference between the eastern and western red cedar. I taped up some speaker wire between the vapor barrier and the furring strips ahead of time, so I cut out holes for marine-grade speakers in one of the boards as well. And I'll hook those speakers to a Bluetooth receiver later. You may have noticed that there were several vent hoses in the walls. These are extremely important, and you need at least 3. One below the heater that will draw fresh air directly into the heater. One under the bench that will draw in fresh air for the occupants during each session, and one near the ceiling directly above the heater. This last one should have a cover that you can close during use, but open to let all the heat and steam out once you've finished. So, I screwed up. I used composite for the door frame and never even considered the temperatures in there are going to cause that to off gas, and it's not going to be super healthy. Actually, same thing with the tile. I just happened to ask ChatGPT last night, like, hey, what kind of adhesive should I use for the tile behind the heater? And it reminded me that pretty much all the normal stuff is going to off gas some VOCs, which is very bad. So I'm going to make some changes today and try to get this thing back on track, starting by ripping out this door. I ripped down the composite door frame and replaced it with western red cedar, then rehung the door. I just ripped down a couple of those pre-made panels and they worked great. And where I'd originally planned to put tile behind the heater, I took down the concrete board and replaced it with more eastern red cedar. With that out of the way, I put down some concrete backer board for the tile, then buttoned up all the electrical connections so I could get light and a space heater going for the mortar and grout. I ran a 20 amp circuit for lights and outlets to the building and a 50 amp circuit for the heater. But this Vevor heater came with a place to hook up a standard light, so if you didn't want outlets or any other lighting, you could get away with just running a single 50 amp circuit. Since this was such a small space and I was using 12 by 24 inch tiles, laying these took less than an hour. And the next day, I was able to clean out all the joints and apply the grout. Unfortunately, the temperature had dropped way down, so I had to leave a space heater in there for the next 3 days so it would cure properly. So in the meantime, I got started on the bench. Using the 1-inch Eastern Red cedar, I cut and ripped a couple boards into two 24 by 48 inch frames. While it's important that I use stainless steel screws here to keep them from rusting, it's also extremely important that no metal is exposed, because it'll heat up and could burn your skin, and nobody wants a little T20 branded on their backside, or worse. So for the outer frames, I used a Forstner bit to pre-drill the holes and then covered the screws using Titebond 3 and cedar plugs. And for the inner supports, I used pocket holes. I pre-marked a level line and the stud locations and attached the bench with 3-inch stainless steel screws. I did the same thing with the second bench, then leveled them both and attached them together. For bracing, I used 3 45-degree supports with pocket holes into the walls. I ripped down the rest of the western cedar into 2.5-inch slats and cut them to 48 inches long. For a 24-inch wide seat with 1/2-inch spacers in between, I only needed 8 for each frame. I put a 1/2-inch roundover around the top of each one with the router before pre-drilling all of them with the Forstner bit. Installation was really straightforward. I pre-drilled each hole to keep the wood from splitting, and then used a 1/2-inch spacer from my setup block kit to ensure consistent gaps between all the slats. To cover up the screws, I cut 160 plugs, then glued and hammered each one into the holes. While I waited on the glue to dry, I started buttoning up the finishing touches. I used the rest of the 1-inch cedar to trim around all the corners, the window, and the door. Attached the latch to hold the door closed, and I built a little media cabinet for the Bluetooth receiver and amplifier. I sanded down the bench to 220, then stacked 2 bags of medium lava rocks and 1 bag of large lava rocks into the heater. And after adding a couple curtains, I was ready to test this thing out. This was a really fun project and something I've wanted to build for a while now. It was a big challenge for me in many ways, but I'm so happy to mark this one off the list. I've been using the sauna now daily for the better part of a week, and I can already feel the difference in my joints and in my quality of sleep. I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helps you if you're considering building one as well. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.